At a February 19th news conference, Mayor Daley announced that major upgrades to the city's 911 system have been completed, which will help improve the delivery of emergency services to Chicago residents. Prior to that announcement, the mayor reviewed how the federal economic stimulus plan can help the city of Chicago. Here are highlights from that news conference.
Before we talk about the upgrade to our 911 system that we're here this morning, I want to briefly bring Chicagoans up to date on the status of our efforts to make sure our city takes full advantage of what the recently passed federal economic stimulus program will be. Like everyone in government, we are still reviewing the fine print in the bill to determine how we can maximize our participation. At over 1,000 pages, the legislation that passed the House and the Senate is very detailed. It is a complex bill that includes funds both given out by formula and grant opportunities that must be applied for. Formulas for the distribution of many funds haven't yet been developed or announced. The grant funding rules of application timetables haven't been written for many of the programs. So it takes some time for us to accurately understand just how much Chicago will be eligible to receive under the bill. In fact, I'll be going to Washington tomorrow with about 75 or 90 mayors to meet with President Obama, Vice President Biden, and key cabinet officials to discuss the city's role in implementing that legislation. But the good news is that Chicago, the CTA, the Chicago Housing Authority, the Chicago Board of Education, the city colleges, and the Park District can expect to automatically receive formula funding either through the state or federal government. We are still working through how much Chicago will receive in each area. Until we have more information, it would be premature to announce specific numbers and, of course, raise any expectations. But it's fair to say that we expect to get millions in each category. And those categories include such things as community development block grant funds, energy efficiency and conservation block grant funds, juvenile assistance funds to help us prevent, fight, and prosecute crime, emergency shelter grant funds to address homelessness, more money for Head Start, public housing funds that will enable us to rehab more vacant apartments and complete more projects now under the Plan for Transformation for Chicago Housing Authority. Through the state, we hope to get several $100 million of highway infrastructure funds to modernize the roads and the bridges. And we expect to receive community service block grant funds to fund community organizations that assist low-income families and workforce funds to enhance our job training and employment services. We'll have access to greater funding to support education needs of disadvantaged students and special education students. As we pass through from the RTA, the CTA will receive funds for capital improvements. When it comes to funding through federal grant programs, we'll apply for them as they are announced by the administration in the next few weeks or months. In many cases, state government, not-for-profits, community organizations, and private sector are also eligible to apply, so competition will be very stiff. Among the areas for which we expect to apply directly to the federal government with specific projects as soon as the guidelines are set up: transportation, airport improvements, water and sewer infrastructure. We'll seek to improve public safety through new funding available in the COPS program. We'll seek funds to upgrade our fire stations. We ask for new funding for our job training efforts and work to even get more grant funding for Head Start. To make sure that the broadband technology is available across the city, we'll seek new funding for underserved areas, and through the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, we'll seek more funds to purchase, rehab, and resell vacant, abandoned homes in neighborhoods hit hardest by the foreclosure. As you can see, the opportunities for Chicago under the recovery legislation are great and very varied. It's up to us to maximize the opportunity, and we would do that. But we should be thankful for that during these tough times, Chicago and other cities and states are receiving funding to a degree we haven't seen before. I also like to remind Chicagoans that the city is sponsoring 2 upcoming events aimed at helping small and minority-owned business figure out opportunities for them under the federal economic stimulus program. As you know, under federal money, it's disadvantaged. It is not a opportunity for small minority-owned business as well. So it's strictly disadvantaged, it's completely different. That's 100% federal money, which we passed a resolution to ask the federal government to consider our WBE and MBE programs in the city of Chicago. On February 26th, on the 2nd floor at City Hall, the Department of Business and Consumer Protection, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection will have representatives available from banks, the private sector, and small business administration to share important advice on managing a business during the current economic crisis and about the federal stimulus package. We're trying to figure out how small businesses can basically have access into that. On February 28th at McCormick Place, the Department of Procurement will conduct a Federal Economic Recovery Act workshop where people wishing to do business with the city can obtain information about how to get involved. I want to urge all Chicago business people to take advantage of these valuable workshops. Now I'd like to talk about an enhancement to our 911 system that will help us carry out one of the fundamental responsibilities in city government, which is to keep Chicago as safe and secure as possible and be prepared to manage in emergency situations. We are very proud of the fact that when it comes to emergency preparedness, Chicago has a history of innovation. In today's world of ever-changing technology, it is critical that public safety agencies do their part to stay in tune with the latest tools available to help keep residents safe. For example, we have been a world leader in installing security and safety cameras throughout our city, both as a deterrent to terrorism as well as address the challenge of gangs, guns, drugs, or common crime. We've employed mobile satellite command vehicles to give us critical infrastructure information, secure communications, as well as internet and video conferencing capability with other city, regional, state, yes, and even federal agencies. At our airports, we've invested in the newest security and safety enhancement, including a fingerprint identification system for airport access, license plate recognition cameras, and state-of-the-art video management system. We have expanded as well our Notify Chicago initiative, so we can now contact anyone in the Master Street address guide during emergencies and provide them with alerts on their call phones, handheld computers, and anything from traffic to weather emergencies to hazardous material situations. Thanks to the efforts of many departments in city government, Chicago remains as secure as any other city can be. On an average day, Chicago's 911 center answers 15,000 calls for emergency service. Our call takers and dispatchers answer those calls with calm professionalism. Their job is a very critical one. When you are in the business of protecting and saving lives, there are no second chances. And that's why it's important that we provide 911 with the best tools available to assist the residents who are calling in need. Today, I'm pleased to announce that a significant upgrade of the computer-aided dispatch CAD system has been completed and fully operational. You'll see a demonstration of what it does in a few moments. CAD is a system we use to coordinate the city's delivery of fire, police, emergency medical resources to 911 calls. The upgrade was paid for by $6 million grant from the United States Department of Homeland Security, includes a unique operating system, upgraded Oracle database, new HP servers, and storage area network cabinets. One of the most critical, most important elements of this upgrade is that it allows us to integrate all operational virtual shield camera network into each CAD workstation. That network includes thousands of cameras that help us in our fight to stay a step ahead of the violence that still holds too many communities hostage. As a result of the upgrade, when a 911 call is received, the CAD system will be able to scan the city's network to find any safety cameras within 150 feet of the address of the call. Within seconds, real-time video of the location will appear on the call taker's screen. The call taker and dispatcher can then use the video to provide first responders or Homeland Security officials with additional information during any emergency. Chicago is the first big city in the nation to have integrated its camera network into a 911 operation. It greatly enhances not only our Homeland Security strategy, but also to fight our crime. Since September 11, 2001, our broad strategy has been to bring all city resources together to keep the people of our city and our region safe. We continue to work closely with the federal government, state and regional agencies to use state-of-the-art technology and strategies to stay ahead of potential threats posed by increasingly sophisticated terrorist groups, to keep our neighbors safe from the threats posed by gangs, guns, and drugs. Through a combination of technology, hard work, and dedication of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics, the workers of the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, our city will remain as safe and prepared as any other big city can. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ray Roscoe, Executive Director, OEMC. Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir. As the Mayor mentioned, Chicago continues to look to technology to help keep residents and our first responders safe. In September of 1995, Chicago launched its computer-aided dispatch, its CAD system, to coordinate the delivery of service of fire, police, and EMS to 911 emergency calls. The innovative voice and data radio system provided information such as location history with regards to 911 calls. It also gave access to external city databases, provided available field resources, and connected us to state and federal databases such as the Law Enforcement Agency Data System that run on a statewide level, and on a nationwide level, the National Crime Information Center. If a 911 call originates from a landline telephone, the phone number and the location of the call, including building mapping and vital information around the surrounding area, will appear on the call taker's map screen. It also provides police and fire personnel on the street with valuable information to help them respond quickly and to mitigate the emergency incident. But one of the most important and cost-saving elements of the CAD was the fact that it gave Chicago the flexibility to upgrade with new features as they became available in the constantly evolving public safety technology market. And today's upgrades will allow us to move into the next generation of technology in emergency response. The Unix operating system is the CAD foundation. It allows us to run modern applications like the video from our camera surveillance network. An upgraded Oracle database allows for more efficient writing of data, and it increases speed when calls are generated to the 911 center. It also allows for future development of CAD applications, which is critical when we're dealing with an industry that changes so quickly. The new HP Integrity servers run smarter and faster than the previous system and will help us process over the 5.4 million calls the 911 floor handled last year. And finally, the storage area network is a location where all fire and police data is filed with servers, and the upgrade will ensure that this critical information remains secure. When we began piloting these new applications in December, and to date, we found these systems to be very successful. One such initiative, as the Mayor spoke of, was to provide camera access to the call takers and dispatchers on the 911 floor. The call takers and dispatchers have all been trained on the system, including First Amendment rights with regards to operating a video surveillance system. As a first responder, I can't tell you how important it is to have a set of eyes on an emergency scene prior to your arrival. The valuable information they provide from the camera network can ultimately mean the difference between life and death. Remember, all emergency calls start right here, and whether you send one ambulance or 3, 2 squad cars or 4, it all depends upon the information we are able to gather from the 911 caller. For example, a 911 call is received here at OEMC. And if you look behind me, you'll see the example come up. When a call taker enters the address or a particular intersection, like Jackson and Franklin, into the CAD, this is what they're going to see. The call taker has the ability to select the camera and to utilize the options on the camera, which are pan, tilt, and zoom, to get a clearer view of the scene to provide those first responders with critical information while they're en route. Having this visual aid on the operations floor truly does make a difference. And here is just a recent example of an arrest that was made via the information that came from a call taker. This incident occurred early on during our pilot phase in December. A call came into the 911 center about a theft in progress downtown on Michigan Avenue. The call taker, using this technology, was able to see the theft in progress and directed the responding officers. Again, having these extra set of eyes on the scene translates into a more efficient delivery of service and increased safety. And that's our goal, to make Chicago as safe as any big city can be. Thank you.
Also, Mike Riccardi, Commissioner, Department of Streets and Sanitation, with us as well. I just want to thank Ray and all those, and Jim and all those who have been involved in this wonderful 911 facility. This facility has been built many years ago. It's been upgraded continually. Technology, we lead the way of any big city in America, basically in the world, in regards to the technology and use of technology for both first responders and as well as for the protection of the citizens here in the city of Chicago.